Jeremiah was called by God at a young age to be a prophet. He said, "I do not know how to speak. I am only a child," but God strengthened him, saying, "I will be with you. Do not be afraid." God's promise was engraved in Jeremiah's heart. Jeremiah bows his head as he receives God's calling. The divine light surrounds him, filling him with a heart of obedience. Despite his fear, he listens to God's voice. Jeremiah prays with fear and reverence before God. He realizes God's plan and makes a deep commitment to faith and obedience. The people of Judah turned away from God and fell into idolatry, bowing before idols made of wood and stone. Jeremiah stood before them, delivering a message of warning, but the people ignored him and continued down their dark path. The people of Judah turned away from God, creating idols with their own hands. The craftsmen, carving wooden and stone idols, are absorbed in their misguided beliefs. Jeremiah cries out in despair to the people. He watches them worship idols with tears in his eyes, delivering God's warning. Dark clouds gather over Jerusalem as lightning strikes. God's judgment is approaching, and Jeremiah makes one last appeal to the people. God's judgment was coming upon Jerusalem. Jeremiah stood before the walls of the city, warning the people of the consequences of their sins. The clouds darkened, and God's wrath drew near to Jerusalem. Jeremiah receives the vision of the new covenant from God during deep prayer. His heart is filled with peace and understanding. God promises a new covenant to the people. They receive this promise with joy and gratitude, their faces shining with hope. Yet, God still loved his people and promised a new covenant. "I will write my law on your hearts," he said. Jeremiah delivered this promise, shining a light of hope to the people. The new covenant symbolized hope and restoration. The Babylonian army breaks through the gates of Jerusalem, and the walls crumble. Flames engulf the city as the people flee in terror. Jeremiah watches in deep sorrow as Jerusalem burns. Under a sky filled with smoke and ash, he witnesses the city's destruction. Dark clouds gather over Jerusalem as lightning strikes. God's judgment is approaching, and Jeremiah makes one last appeal to the people. The people of Judah, returning from exile, rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. As the walls rise again, the joy of hope and restoration fills the air. After the Babylonian exile, God brought the people of Judah back to Jerusalem. The walls were rebuilt, and the people were filled with joy and gratitude. Jeremiah watched as the day of restoration, promised by God, was fulfilled.